Show off.
All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 57 of the Nutanix Weekly Podcast. I have with me my co-host here, Mr. Jirah Cox. How are you?
Hey, Harvey. Good, man. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Wonderful. And we also have Mr. Ben Rogers by phone. Ben, how are you?
Good, Harvey. I'm doing really well, man. Happy to be here today.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Ben is he's on away from the office, working away with some stuff going on. And Mr. Jirah, he is in the office, which I can see. And I guess Mr. Jirah there, have you finally given up on this moving thing?
If you want, actually, I've got some moving boxes right here, just off camera for you, Harvey. We're going to be moving in 2 weeks' time.
So Ben, Jirah's been doing a little bit of, we either have to take it for what he's saying it is and say that he's been moving around a little bit, or you can just take it how I've been saying it and narrating it, that he's just pretending to be moving for I don't know, for sympathy points, or try to get away from us. What is it, Jirah? Why are you doing this?
My version of the facts is that you're in denial, that you're sad that I no longer live 15 minutes down the road from you, which I've apologized to you for multiple times.
Yeah.
Multiple times.
Not enough.
Flowers, I sent chocolates,
Not
gift
enough.
cards. What do you want from me?
So, Jirah, I would have to ask, when's the last episode in your current location? Will that be 59?
No, it should be 58, because next week the studio is getting disassembled. So we'll do next week's episode. Right. We'll do next week's episode. Then you and I meet up in Vegas, and that'll be it.
Wow. So I guess the first episode in your new crib, man, we've got to have, kind of a welcome home party for you.
Sounds good.
All right. Well, I am sharing my screen here. So for those who can see it, today's topic is introducing AOS 6.5. And it's labeled HCI will never be the same. So that's saying
crowd cheering in the background. That's the crowd cheering in the background, Harvey.
Nice.
There's some Monty Python level sound effects on the podcast now.
Here we
go. Nice. So that, like I say, that's a lot to say in the title, right? HCI will never be the same. I guess which one of you wants to tackle why HCI will never be the same? We'll just start with that.
Yeah, let's dive into it. So this is a post celebrating our huge release. Actually, it's AOS 6.5. AOS is the code that runs all of Nutanix, runs in our CVMs. It's our core code set that really makes all of Nutanix flavored HCI possible. So with this 6.5 release, which is kind of like it's like the big release of the year, brings a lot of new features, brings some new features that have been on our like short-term support or like a preview release track to the mainstream support, the LTS code branch. So some of this we might have touched on some prior episodes around when it actually shipped in like a short-term support release, but now when it hits the long-term support, that's when it kind of gets mainstream broad support. So 3 high-level buckets, right, that all of this falls into.
Well, hold on. Before you even do that, you talk long-term support, you talk short-term support. What is this release?
This one, so 6.5 is LTS, long-term support. You can, if you want to touch your cluster as infrequently as possible, right? Like, if you also want to do like sort of big bang, summertime or whatever your annual schedule is releases, that's fine. This can match that with you. It's kind of for customers that want new releases less frequently, but they also therefore want to patch less frequently. If you want more new stuff faster and you're willing to patch faster to get it, that's what the short-term support train is for as well.
So let me ask a couple questions around that. I put on my customer hat like Ben does a good bit. So this new release, do I need to wait to install this new release while they work out the bugs and the kinks?
Yeah, good question, and totally natural. In this case, actually, believe it or not, no. We only make something a long-term support release when it's been kind of battle tested and has had some soak time in the field as a short-term release. So this code actually has been already out there, available for customers for their lab clusters, testing clusters, customers that want to do the short-term support train to get featured more often. It's all been out there. So we don't ship net new code as an LTS.
Okay, well, that's good news. I like that. When was the last time you did an LTS release?
When's the last time we what?
When's the last time you released an LTS version, the one before this?
5.20 would have been last year.
Ah, all right. So there's a year.
See, that's what's exciting.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead, Ben.
I mean, that to me is kind of what's exciting in this is the first 6.x release that's gone into LTS. So for me, like in enterprise, as Jirah was saying, a lot of enterprise customers won't go to STS versions because, you know, they don't need the features or they want to be more battle ready. They will be willing to move to these LTS releases. So I'm very excited to get in front of my customers because I can go to them and go, this is a long-term release. This is battle tested. Got some really cool features we'll talk about here in a little bit later on the podcast, but this is an exciting time to be a Nutanix employee because of this release and the significance of it coming from the 5.x era into the 6.x era. So I'm pretty excited to get in front of my customers, and a few customers I've already talked to this about, they're excited too because this is what they've been waiting on to make that jump into the 6 arena.
Yeah, so that makes a lot of sense to me, right? If I still have on the customer hat to go from a 5 dot something release to a 6 dot something release, that already sounds like a big deal. But to go from a 5.20 up to a 6.5, that .5 tells me, you know, there have been some .1s, .2s, right? And the fact that Jirah, you brought up that this has been a year in the making, right? That kind of gets me to pay attention. So, all right, let's say I'm game. What am I getting for upgrading to 6.5?
So 3 key areas of stuff you're getting would be performance increases, right? So that you can apply just a software update to your existing cluster, get faster out of it. More resilience for security, and then also better snapshots and replication data services are the kind of the 3 big buckets that everything falls under. We can go deeper on all that, but those are the 3 high level bullets.
All right, so you already know I'm already interested in this. You use the word performance, right? It sounds to me like if I perform this upgrade, things will be better and faster, and I don't have to buy new equipment to make it better and faster. Whatever do you mean, sir?
Totally, man. Better living through software. So put better software on existing CVMs, right? Those Nutanix virtualized controllers, get more performance out of the cluster. So better code.
Nice.
It is primarily software, right? Is the release. It does bring some features that enable new hardware too. So clusters can now differentiate between, say, NVMe and Optane. They're both NVMe grade storage, but Optane is faster, and we can actually now distinguish between those 2 things. So if you had them both in a node, we can make sure the very hottest of data is placed onto Optane disks, and then the NVMe is, as weird as it is to say, the colder tier of storage. Even though NVMe is pretty darn fast, it's not traditionally your cold tier. But differentiation there. There's actually links out to other studies. Even the screenshot that we include here in the blog post is awesome, showing 3.38 million read IOPS, 1 million write IOPS, very, very big numbers that we're putting up here for the performance studies, as well as supporting with that performance larger and larger databases as well, right? So we highlight how 6.5 supports larger and larger databases, and this calls out how much do you need, right? Terabyte, 2 terabyte, 10 terabyte or more. 6.5 is there for you.
Jirah, let me ask a question, because I know this has been something that has been, kind of touted with this build, is going from the single IO thread to the multi IO thread. Kind of, for somebody like me that's new to the Nutanix technology, trying to learn, how is this really significant in this build?
Yeah. So part of it's the threading. Part of that's been in HV for a little while. A brand's making a new feature for a lot of things will be like the disk sharding. I think we talked about that on a prior episode, but again, this now comes to a mainstream release where, we still continue to recommend, along with Microsoft, more vDisks is better for performance for a lot of applications like SQL. That being said, not every application in a customer's mind is worth shifting onto multiple vDisks when you migrate it to Nutanix. So we're still going to do what we can to make that run faster wherever possible. And that includes this technology called disk sharding, where we'll take let's say one large vDisk and break it up into regions and assign each of those regions of the disk a different disk controller, so that we can still, to your point, Ben, get multiple lanes of throughput in and out of that single vDisk.
So Harvey, one of the things you asked, is today I'm sitting with the cluster and now I'm going to upgrade the cluster. What am I going to get? Well, you're going to be able to turn on some of these features that have been added since the 5.x LTS release, which I'm excited for, because again, the Optane disk coming down the pipe and using that, especially in a SAP HANA environment, it's just some really exciting things. So will it perform faster? If you have the right devices in there, I believe you will get a performance increase when you go to this build.
Yeah, you're going to get a cluster that's smarter and can run larger workloads more intelligently.
That's pretty cool. As a customer who doesn't want to spend any more money than I have to, that sounds pretty promising, that I can upgrade what I have and get some more performance out of it, potentially some more life out of it.
I mean, that sounds like a really high value platform where you just apply updates and get even more out of it. Yeah.
Yes. Agreed. I do like things like that.
I was surprised, Harvey, when you said it perked your ears up. I thought you were going to touch on security as kind of number one with a bullet, like super critical.
It's funny that you should bring that up, because obviously we all want things to be much, much faster, but we also want them to be secure. So definitely let's talk some more about what we've got security wise that we can hit on.
Yeah, because we got it. So as we're running these, business critical, mission critical workloads with more and more performance, we also want to do that securely. So some of these enhancements that come in this is the abilities for virtual networking, right? If you're using flow networking to do network isolation, if you're running Nutanix nodes up in public cloud, Prism is now enabled to display to you what your public cloud networking looks like. So we can show those subnets right there in Prism in this case, I think AWS NC2, so that when you're deploying VMs, you can actually see and consume the networks that, like, say, an AWS network administrator, it might have built for you. If you're in the DoD, of course, we've got some new certifications that bring us into compliance here with like IPv6 requirements for communications.
So
and more ways that we can implement zero trust.
Again, kind of wearing my customer hat here. I see you got some additional certifications for the DoD. I'm not the DoD, but do I still benefit from where you guys are with a certification level with them? Is it that secure for me too?
Totally, yeah. So any customer can actually go to their cluster and actually put it into a self-hardening state, where it will use those same hardening guidelines to enforce and then also monitor and reheal back to a security baseline as defined in those hardening guidelines. So it's not just like a one-time event where you tell your cluster, hey, self-harden. It does that for sure, but then it also will monitor that over time to say, if someone goes in and tampers with the configuration to weaken your security posture, maybe enable like password SSH versus key-based SSH, it'll alert you on that, and then also roll back to the security baseline saying, I have to turn that off because this is what my security baseline mandates.
Wait, so I've got the option, like let's say the DoD standard has 1,000 different settings set to be a certain way. And let's say I really only need 900 of those, and the other 100 are going to make it so that my users can't work. So I just don't want those set. I can do that too. I can adapt from what they have.
To be honest, that one's beyond me. I've never tweaked the baselines. But I've also never heard of any of our baselines breaking the product. Of course, we write the baselines for the product to harden itself.
Well, not necessarily tweaking the baseline, but just taking what they have and I guess that is
Picking and choosing,
tweaking the baseline.
I mean, that's not a regular way to comply with the baseline. If the end user can pick and choose what they want to apply.
Now, Harvey,
I've got the option to go all the way up to it, I guess. So yeah, that's interesting.
Think about this though, Harvey. You are a compliance officer in a healthcare facility, right, and you're looking to really, prove that you've hardened the environment. I think leaning on this tool would be awesome, because then I could say, now I'm hardening my environment, not only for what healthcare expects me to do, but now also what the Department of Defense is doing. So for other industries, I could definitely see this being a plus.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure there are lots of environments that would say if it's good enough for the DoD, it's good enough for us.
That's always been what I've taught from a design standpoint. Is some of those baselines are so much more inclusive that aiming for that kind of brass ring gives you everything beneath it, right? And it is not as stringent from a security posture perspective.
That makes sense. I like that. What else you got for me?
Hold on. I clicked on some links here in the blog post and distracted myself. Because this is a link filled blog post that everybody should go check out. So better replication. So if you're already using our native Nutanix provided disaster recovery solution, sending copies of your VMs from one cluster to another, which could be anything to anything, right? Cross hypervisor, your data center to your data center to the colo down the street, across town, across the country, public cloud, wherever your other Nutanix cluster wants to run. This release brings out what's called a range-based replications to send to get even closer down to just sending only changed data. So we to get nerdy for a second, we write data on disk in one megabyte chunks. And in prior releases, we would send that megabyte. If only a kilobyte in that megabyte changed, we'd send the whole megabyte. And with this, we're able to slice it more finely so that we're only sending just changed data and less sort of padding in the extent around that changed data. So cluster optimization for replication as well. What does that do? That means that customers can get more snapshots across a wire faster, achieve lower, RPO, RTO on their application so that data is fresher over at DR if they want to go do a failover, planned or unplanned.
Let me ask a question from a customer point of view. So I'm running today on 5.x and I upgrade to 6.5 and I'm doing replication before. Are you telling me that after this upgrade, it's going to take my existing replication rules and policies that I have in place, and it's going to apply this ability to just now send over the change data instead of that whole 1 megabyte block over?
Yeah, you should see the existing replication on those existing clusters, completing faster, taking less time per snapshot to send across the wire.
Wow. So we also should probably see some bandwidth efficiency come along with this. We're not touting that in these articles, but I'm thinking through that we should see that after these upgrades.
Potentially, I guess it would depend on each environment, right? Like the amount of data change and frequency and available bandwidth to replicate. But yeah, it's certainly possible. Yeah, I can imagine where that would be true of a lot of different environments.
I like
that. Would be real interesting to lab up.
Yeah.
Because think about if you could look at, now for people with private cloud, they probably got fixed assets with the pipe so that, they're not looking at efficiencies in it. But if you're a cloud customer and you're using your cloud environment as a DR facility and you're replicating out, this could be a big difference in my opinion.
Could be. Well, everybody's got telco contracts to renegotiate, right? If you can prove that you're maybe not using as much of a pipe as you used to be, you can find some savings there for sure. So some other new stuff that comes in this release, I love the way that we highlight here, helping out with operations, freeing up nights and weekends, right? Like the actual helping you get back time in your day, time in your night, time in your weekend, so that you don't have to worry about technology and the day job. So some new features there. AHV memory overcommit VM templates. So helping customers, we've like a cloud native provider had the capacity for using like an image library where you can upload like basically vdisk templates and then create VMs using those vdisk templates wherever you wanted to, right, on any cluster. Now with this functionality, you can even templatize the vCPU, the memory, blank vdisks as well, NICs, whatever you wanted to be able to stamp out rapidly as this is my VM template and go from there. As well as AHV memory overcommit, something we've heard from a long time from the field around customers that for I'd say very specific use cases, right? Very specific needs, certain environments definitely need overcommit to maybe be perhaps, let's say, financially viable, right? Maybe there's some environments where there's just political constraints of, so-and-so swears up and down they need 64 gig memory, but I watch the VM and it's only using 16 gig. Of course, we can report on that. We can name and shame. We can help you show back or shame back in your environment. But there's just some environments where you just aren't going to win that battle. You have to give it 64 gig memory no matter what the report says. So with this, now with memory overcommit, right, you can steal some of that memory that the VM's not using back to give to other VMs in the environment. Now, of course, we're not the first hypervisor to have this. And laws of physics apply to everyone equally, right? If you ran out of real physical memory on a node, you're going to page, life's going to slow down. All those VMs are going to hate life. So use this to make promises to your VMs, but let's make wise promises to our VMs, not go crazy and write checks that our DIMs can't cache. Capacity planning for non-Nutanix ES6i. I think this one's pretty slick. So you've been able to connect, non-Nutanix fully, 3-tier vCenter environments to Prism for a long time and surface like alerts, do some AI ML growth trending. With this one now, you can do capacity planning as well. So we can monitor those environments the same way we monitor ourselves and send you an alert whenever your predicted runway dips below 12 months of growth. So we'll watch CPU, watch memory, watch storage. And if you're growing at a certain rate that we think you're going to run out within the next 12 months, we'll send you an alert to say, hey, by the way, caution, out of memory condition is coming up on that other non-Nutanix cluster over there, forecasted for 9 months out. Same way we can do on Nutanix, now on non-Nutanix as well. So centralized alerting, or hey, maybe a compelling event. Would you like some more Nutanix to help alleviate that predicted shortfall there?
Yeah, that's pretty cool, actually.
Yep. If you've heard about our new licensing model and there's even a link here. This is such a great blog post because it links to everything else that's part of it. So the NCI licensing, NCM licensing, unified storage, database services, all of our new licensing models. This is our LTS release that now lets you apply that licensing to your clusters. So of course we did ship the new licensing models. The next STS release supported that, and now that comes to LTS as well. So if you had that licensing, that can now be applied. Some of the compelling stuff there now is like, NCI can include like flow microsegmentation. So if you didn't have that before, by converting your licensing and then upgrading to 6.5, you just get flow microsegmentation on your cluster when you're running AHV. Other cool stuff around like unified storage, database services, other easy to consume licensing models there. And let's see. That probably rounds out the what's new. I know that I'm doing a couple of meetings a week nowadays, just presenting this in depth to our customers. So if this is at all compelling to you, I would say reach out to your account team, tell them you want to get on the calendar and get a more in-depth review of the what's new in 6.5 content. Our great guys over in tech marketing put together some wonderful guys and gals over in tech marketing put together some awesome content that we can go through in a more intimate and also dedicated time fashion, right? Let's carve out an hour and really go deep on what's new in this release.
Yeah, you're already jumping the gun and going past me. I always ask you, well, what can I do, Jirah, to get this?
What if I felt, I don't know, called to action?
Yes.
Then yeah, totally reach out to your account team, right? Let them know that you want to go deeper on some of this stuff. But also if you're just listening and let's say you're hopefully not driving, but maybe you're at your computer, jump on the Nutanix test drive environment. Test drive also has 6.5 there as well that you can hop onto and kick the tires as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe we need to do something specifically around 6.5, but definitely being able to use test drive, being able to do that, being able to do some demos, and actually, I like to tell people this all the time, right? You can go to test drive and you can go out there and take a look at what's there and not break what you have. Like, look at somebody else. Do not break production because you did not go and look at it first. Just plan.
Yeah, if you don't have a lab cluster, please use ours. Not you. Don't treat yours as one.
Yes. Let's plan well.
I think a saving grace with that is that this is a long-term support release. So this is, as Jirah said, this is been bullet tested and should be battle ready. So as I'm talking to customers, I'm trying to relay a sense of this is the next step in your journey with us, and we now have it as a long-term release where you don't have to worry about it being a short-term release or something that's not been completely tested by the field.
Yeah, no, agreed on that for sure. I guess in my saying that, I'm less worried about the software and more worried about just jumping out there and just pressing buttons and, oh wait, I don't know what just happened. Oh wait,
it has amazed me. It has amazed me being a new employee here as you learn more about this upgrade, how they have, really done some enhancements to the code and the gears underneath the, behind the covers that just seeing some of the performance that we're able to gain and, this multi-IO coming out and our ability to play with Optane and all that. It's just very interesting at how they can tune this platform. I'm just amazed at it at a geek level, what they're able to do behind the scenes with this.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Mr. Rogers, any parting thoughts, sir?
Well, there was an interesting article that came out this week that talked about, employees. And so when I look at Nutanix and I, having a leadership role in the past, I think about, how can I set up a platform that can be bulletproof to employee change? And I think with some of the direction that Nutanix is going, they're really looking at that as how can I hire competent individuals that can work on our existing on-prem environments, but as we grow and we scale out the cloud, how will they be able to do that work as well? And how will I retain those employees? And if I can't retain those employees, how hard will it be for me to get new employees up and running and ready to go? And I think as companies look at expanding out the cloud, they face that fear of, will I have the talent to be able to do this? And I think Nutanix as a platform gives you the ability to have confidence that your talent will not only be able to perform in existing workloads on-prem or private cloud, but as you get into public cloud, Azure, AWS, your employee skill set can handle those environments as well. And I think there's a lot of power with that. And I hope that other IT leaders see that and start to, kind of embrace that, because the world's changing and employee skill set, man, is very important. And having the skill set to manage your workloads wherever they live is a reality for a lot of people. And so I'm very proud of the fact that I work for a company that's giving companies the ability to flatten that out and to be able to work across silos like that.
Yeah, agreed. All right, Jirah, top that.
No, 100% agreed. I was reading an article this week with the CEO of Aviatrix. They do cloud networking and SDN, and he was talking about the value prop for his product, right, being that it's that sort of decoder ring and universal experience standardization across everything, right? So if you had operations on-prem, Colo, GCP, AWS, Azure, it's unrealistic to think you'll ever staff all those skill sets well, right? But you could easily staff, for Aviatrix. This episode is not sponsored by Aviatrix, right? To let your team standardize operations, right? Standardize the run book that you hand to a new employee. Hey, here's your binder of like stuff we do. on a consistent platform. And I was like, we actually need to steal a lot of that messaging, because that's exactly what we do for private and hybrid cloud, right? You can standardize that operations that you, again, probably won't staff to the nth degree of specialization across every platform that you ever need to run workloads in, but you can specialize on Nutanix and then take that with you anywhere, wherever, you know, the NICs and the hardware and the SSDs can follow you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess on my part, I'll throw out there that our next Nutanix workshop is on Friday the 19th, 11 to 2, and it'll be specifically around Nutanix files. So hopefully you guys will jump on and join us for that. Maybe learn something new, maybe learn a little bit more about what you already have and do every day, but definitely jump on. It'll be hands-on, and you guys can break ours instead of yours.
I'll be at a closing, signing my name a disgusting amount of times, but I'll be with you in spirit.
All right. Well, I guess we'll have to be happy with that. All right. Thanks, guys. We will see you for the next one.
Talk to you then.
Have a good one.